than have back pain and foot numbness or foot pain, right? So the more central, the better. So this is our way to identify whether or not our patient is having any neurologic compromise. So here's what these tests are not. These tests are not identifying specifically, this is an important point, these tests are not identifying specifically where the entrapment exists or where the neuropathy exists. It's not identifying the location of the problem. Okay, so I may have a positive straight leg raise from a herniated disc, from an arthritic facet joint, from a piriformis, from a tight hamstring, anything along the length of that sciatic nerve may produce a positive straight leg raise. It's not telling me where the problem lies. It's just telling me that I have a problem. What's nice about it is we're going to try to quantify it so that we can look at change over time. The joint that we're going to use with this technique to quantify is going to be the hip. So if a patient comes in today and they're positive with this test at 15 degrees of hip flexion, as I work with that patient, a good result would be tomorrow or next week I can get them to 30 degrees. And the week after that I can get them to 45 degrees. So we're expecting to write down with these tests, when we record them, they're positive or negative. If they are positive, write down the angle of the hip. Just a positive straight leg raise doesn't tell me very much. So positive straight leg raise at 30 degrees, 15 degrees, 45 degrees. Okay, so there's two components to the way that we document this. Positive versus negative. If it's positive, we're going to document the angle of the hip. Now you can see that I have written there, 0 to 35 degrees. People believe that that's where you're taking up the slack in the sciatic nerve. 35 to 70 degrees is when we put nerve root tension, and beyond 70 degrees we're looking at more joint pain. That is just like a very gross generalization. You can't go to the bank on that. But most people with a sciatic nerve issue that are positive on this test will be positive in that 30-degree range, typically. Okay? So there's 4 different variations of this, and this is the base test, but the variations really just have to do with changing the position of the foot. Okay? So, with that being said, we can't with any great assurance implicate one specific nerve versus another. The way that I would take this is, as you're going through this, if you're not getting a positive finding with the base test, then we play with the foot position to see if any of those positions tend to elicit the response. All right? We can't necessarily say that if the common peroneal is positive, then it's a common peroneal problem. We believe that we're kind of torquing on the common peroneal more so than in other positions, but we can't definitively say that. So I'm just kind of giving you that, it's not as direct as it appears, the way it's written. Okay, so we'll talk through it as we go. But if I could have a volunteer, I'll show you the base test. Please step up. Okay. So let's have you with your head down the center, please. Make sure. So I'm going to do it on this side so that James can get this on the camera here. But go ahead and slide toward me. So you're going to want to do this on the side that, actually I'll just do it on the side. You're going to do it on the side you're standing on, obviously, and then I would go to the other side of the table and do it on the opposite side. So the base test, essentially what you're doing is, when they develop these, is they identify what placed the most tension on the sciatic nerve. So that's the position. And when we get in the cadaver lab in a few weeks, we'll show you how that kind of works out. Okay? So with the base test for the sciatic, for the straight leg raise, you're rolling?
I'm rolling.
Okay. Is I'm going to go into flexion. Okay, I'm going to go into hip flexion, and I'm going to go nice and slow. Now it's important you get the patient to relax. So just relax. Let me know if and when you feel anything. Okay, that's what I'll say to them. Just let me know when and if you have a problem. So I'll slowly raise this up into the air, very, very slow. I have them. They feel like I'm supporting them, and they can completely relax. I don't want them to help me at all with this. Okay? I'm going to bring it up as far as I can go. If they say, I feel that, I'm having symptoms there, if it's the pain that they came in with, that's a positive test. I document that hip position, and I'm done with the test. That's all I need to do. Okay? The further aspects of this test are going to occur when you don't get that or can't elicit that response. So the full test is I'm going to bring her up into hip flexion. I'm going to bring her into hip abduction. I'm going to bring her into a little bit of hip internal rotation. knee is extended, and then I'm going to dorsiflex the foot. Right? So this is the maximal terminal position. Right? And then once I'm here, I may play with the degree of hip flexion, more or less. What I'm documenting is at what point I elicit her symptom. And that's going to be critical that I document that so I look at change over time. So that is the base straight leg raise for sciatic nerve. That position maximally engages the sciatic nerve along each of the joints. Hip flexion, IR, adduction, knee extension, ankle dorsiflexion.